Jets, Jets. All right, let's start off with the offensive line. So the offensive line for the Jets is a really bad unit. Last year, they were awful. They were one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They were arguably the worst. I think the only unit that was worse was probably Miami. Other than that, you could probably argue everybody else. They literally have 4 spots open on their offensive line, and you could argue 5 because Brian Winters at right guard is not a very good player. So let's just say all 5 of their offensive line positions are open for service. I think they're going to sign Conklin. That's been the report. I believe that's going to be the case, and I believe he will be their right tackle, but we'll have to see. Bulaga could be an option at right tackle as well. Darrell Williams could be an option. Vaitai could be an option. All of these tackles could be an option. Joe Thuney could be an option. I think Ted Karras is a fit at center. I think McGovern could be an option at center. Garland could be an option. Scherf if he somehow hits the market, which I don't think we're going to see that. But I think the Jets, how they're going to rebuild their offensive line is going to be a combination of free agent signings and draft. So probably their first round need is an offensive lineman. When you look at the free agency, though, they're definitely at least going to get one of these big names at tackle. Outside of that, they are going to try and sign a guard of some stature, and they're probably going to get a mid-tier center in free agency. So, I don't think Beacham, maybe he could be back because he's been there for a long time. He's been a captain on the team. He's not awful, but he's not great. And he's older, so maybe you bring back Beacham for cheap and you draft a guy at left tackle, and then you sign Conklin at right tackle. Khalil, he's gone, so you could sign Ted Karras at center. We'll see what they do. There's a lot of options for them, but I definitely think they're spending big dough on the offensive line, and I think there's a lot of fits for them. Then you go edge. Edge is their biggest need on defense, which corner is another massive need on defense. But both of these positions, they're going to be in the market for players. I think Clowney is an option. I don't think he'll be the pick. I don't think he'll go to the Jets, but I do think he's an option. I think they could go after Fowler. A lot of people seem to think that's a good fit. I do think that's a good fit. And I think a lot of people are underselling Fowler right now. I think a lot of people are saying, oh, Aaron Donald got him 11.5 sacks. Fowler has been good before Aaron Donald, and Fowler has really played well in certain games with the Rams. I mean, he took it to the next level last year. I think he's actually a good player. Maybe he's not great, but he's really good. He's young. He's super athletic, and he's a really good pass rusher, which is what the Jets need. He's not the greatest versus a run, but he's an excellent pass rusher. I think Judon would be interesting, but they might have to trade for him to get his services. I don't think they're going to go after Kyle Van Noy. I think they could go after... they could bring back Jenkins, first of all. I should say that. There's a lot of names at edge. I've brought it up many times. One position they don't need is they don't need a linebacker because they're going to have C.J. Mosley and Williamson back. That's one of the best duos in the league, and they have decent depth behind that. But adding a big edge rusher and then a corner, maybe you bring in Byron Jones. That's certainly at the top of the list. Chris Harris, I don't think would be a Jet option because I don't know. Maybe, but I feel like Harris is probably going to go to a team with an established playoff team. You know what I mean? A Texans I could see. I could see an Eagles, a team that's regularly in the playoffs. I think that's where Chris Harris could go. I could see Bradbury for the Jets. That wouldn't be a bad signing. He's not an elite corner, but he's a good one. Fuller, Roby, bringing back Poole is at the top of the list of their priorities. Waynes is someone I haven't brought up yet, but he could be an addition at corner for them. I do think that re-signing a couple of these guys at corner, specifically Poole, would be a good move. So the thing I like about the Jets defense is they're good in the middle of their defense. They're good at defensive line, stopping the run. They're good at middle linebacker, inside linebacker. They're great at safety with May and Adams. But they need corners and they need edge players, and that is where all the money and assets will be spent for the Jets. And the Jets have money to do so. So they will be playing with that money in free agency. And the other position is wide receiver. I put quarterback at 5th, not for the starting quarterback, but for the backup quarterback. You could also argue they need a backup running back. I think they'll draft a backup running back. They need a backup quarterback because if Sam Darnold has another mono situation or another injury, something like that, they need someone to back him up. So it would be smart to add a backup quarterback. But I don't know who. Maybe another situation where they had McCown, a veteran quarterback who could school Darnold in a way. That would be a good ad for him. Maybe they do decide to bring back like Simeon. I don't know. I don't think he's a good enough backup. I think you need a better one. Maybe they draft someone in the mid-rounds to push Darnold a little bit. Who knows? But I do think backup quarterback is definitely a need. Wide receiver, I like Crowder. I like Enunwa. Robbie Anderson said he wants to be back. I think they could use another receiver. I think when those three guys are playing, they actually have a pretty decent receiver group. But this is a draft where you could easily replace Anderson and maybe even get a better player than Anderson. So I think the best way to go with receiver for the Jets is if you want to bring back Anderson, sure, but make it not your top priority. Make offensive line, edge, and corner your top priorities, then Robbie Anderson, then just go to the draft and draft a receiver because I think that's the best way to go. But Crowder was productive. Enunwa is pretty good when he plays. So there you go.